All right, guys. So this is Stoicism for trading. I have another batch of quotes for you, and I'm going to kind of connect the dots how I've applied these concepts to my trading throughout the years. I've been doing this for 9 years, going on to 10, and I think that a massive part of being successful in this process is related to detachment, staying grounded, and overall kind of knowing where it is that you're going for you. And so we're going to go in a few different directions during this, but it all kind of comes together anyways. So whether it relates back to the technicals, where it relates back to system building, or just how to create your own goals, how to have your own expectations. So, there's no better way, in my opinion, than learning from people whose perspective has transcended thousands and thousands of years, and from people who have, overcome slavery, people that have conquered and have been in a position of power over nations. So let's do it. Now, here's a quote from Epictetus, who was a slave at one point, and during that time he was able to learn from a Stoic teacher, and then eventually ended up becoming free. But one of his quotes here is, "The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it. Skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests." So I honestly could not think of a better way to look at the journey and the development of skills as a trader with this one. So trading is difficult, plain and simple. No other way around it. It's like the act of it, like doing it, is very easy. Easy access, like you literally can just do it off your phone, do it off of anything that has basically access to Wi-Fi. You're tapping a screen, so physically very, very easy to accomplish. Accessibility, super easy. But being able to execute your system at a highly disciplined level, at a highly efficient way, learning how to view money, markets, yourself in a completely new way, having discipline over emotions, like these are the storms and these are the tempests that you have to weather. And I think a lot of people don't ever even start because it looks pretty hard, and some that do end up quitting because it's not something that's that just happens quickly. It's not an instant gratification type of thing. It can be it can be set up so it's gratifying quickly, but usually if that is the case, it doesn't last very long. And also there's something a little dangerous about that. And there are systems in place where you are in and out quickly. So there is a very quick gratification. There is a quick, I'm in the market, I'm out of the market, and I know the outcome. So that is definitely a reality. My trading style, for the most part, 70% of my trades, I'm in and out within an hour. So, which is great. However, even with that, there is a test, because then if you can make quote unquote quick money, then that in itself is something enticing, right? So to go back to the quote, this is something that is very difficult, and becoming someone who can weather, right, the storm, becoming skilled only comes through difficult things. You don't gain massive amounts of talent doing very easy work. And you only get better if you kind of stress test your skill set anyway. So I think being able to put yourself in position to do difficult things, I think that feeling is actually, at least in my experience, doing something that's really difficult or relative to you, like something that you had a hard time conceiving that you could even do, or just doing it in general. Once it's done, that feeling is even better than I think the eventual outcome. So one of the things that helped me, I think, just approach this and a lot of other things in my life was kind of, it's like I look for that feeling. I look for the feeling of doing really hard things, and once it's done, it's kind of remembering that, like, oh my God, I just ran whatever, however many miles. I just lifted, a certain amount of weight. I just stayed disciplined with something, and you just did it for longer or more consistently than you ever thought. And I think that feeling where something that was looked at so difficult, and you're like, I did actually accomplished the work. Maybe you didn't even get the results yet, but like I got the job done. That then you kind of now also have another win. So for example, in this quote where it's skillful pilots gain their reputation from storms and tempests, like once you've known that you've weathered a severe storm, it's like you have that under your belt. You now know that you can do that, and now you've just experienced so many little things, so many different things that you otherwise wouldn't have. So when you're, trading with a little bit more money than you were before, now you're kind of breaking that threshold of, okay, psychologically trading with this much money now it's 1,000 instead of 500, now it's 10,000 instead of 5,000, now it's 100,000, whatever it might be. It's like you're able to tread unknown waters, and that only gives you new experience. So whether it's volatility that you're now trading in, whether it's a certain level of discipline, getting out of a losing streak, that in itself is a tempest. You go through a losing streak where you're down, a whole bunch of, you've lost 3 or 4 trades in a row, but then 20 trades later, you're actually net positive again. It just goes to show you, and especially if you did it in the right way, you now understand, okay, hold on, there's proof here that as long as I do the right things, not only am I getting better, but I'm getting better, not just outcomes, but I'm growing. And because it's more difficult, then what used to be difficult is now easy. And so for me, and I think a lot of traders, it's like you kind of look for that difficulty. And sometimes the difficulty isn't in something hard or mentally challenging. It's in just doing the same thing. It's in saying no to different systems, saying no to impulses. So something to think about here for you guys. And I would love to know, what has been your greatest difficulty that you feel you've now surmounted that puts you into a different position. And that's what you're going to be known for. Like, there's people that go down in history as even traders that they traded through epic, time, the Great Depression. For example, like Jesse Livermore, he traded through the Great Depression, and he made some huge calls that ended up working out and some that didn't, but you're known for that. Or even from the reputation, it's like, oh, you caught the Japanese stock market crash from like the late 90s. Whoa, like that's what BNF did. So something to think about. This one's really important because I think this is a big one that we run into, and I have to thank skateboarding for helping me with this perspective. And it's, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. Here, guys, especially when you're starting, this is a big one. I'd say your first year, this is a lot of the challenge, which is, what are people going to think about me? Even with whether it's people that are not trading, and even people in maybe a trading community. So, for example, you start to do something, and also like I'm picking up the skill set of producing music, and this is one that I'm currently going through, and it's actually not about other people looking at me as foolish and stupid, but me feeling foolish and stupid, just sucking at something again. But when it comes down to this skill, I remember when I started learning how to trade, I had an advantage because I was like, no one around me was really doing it, so no one could really judge me. So that was kind of cool. But I remember, sharing charts, and this is 2016, and I'm sharing my chart, and I'm drawing Fibonacci, and I do it upside down. Like, I draw it completely backwards, and I just get roasted in this chat. But I look at that now because for me it was just funny, and then obviously I remembered and I did it right moving forward. But I just kept going, and I kept sharing what I thought and what could happen, and I kept getting feedback. But I realized later on that itself is not something that everyone does. I realized after working with hundreds of thousands of students at this point, it's 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 difficult for a lot of people. It's a point of pride. Like, you don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. You don't want to waste people's time. You don't ask stupid questions. But the only way to get better, and the fastest way to get better, in my opinion, is to kind of put yourself out there, getting feedback as fast as possible, and not allowing potential judgment to slow you down. So whether it's people like your family and friends, maybe just whatever online, or even you're in a trading community and some people in that are just super advanced, they're killing it. Be okay, because here's the thing, and this is the best part, the most humbling part, and the most grounding part. Every single trader is going through what you're going through, has gone through what you're going through. Every single person had to learn from zero. No one was born knowing exactly how structure works. No one was knowing, mitigation and imbalances and no one. People, come on, everyone, guys. I've been doing this for so long. I put in so many hours, around 25,000 hours. But I also had to learn what a pip is. I also had to learn support and resistance. So don't allow this potential judgment from people and even don't know stop you. If a man knows not which port he sails, no wind is favorable. So I'm going to relate this to a couple different things. One, and this really relates to actually a lot of different things as a trader, but we'll start macro, we'll start kind of big picture. Why are you trading in the first place? Like, what are you trading for? Is it money? Is it time freedom? Is it to be somewhere else in the world? If so, why? Like, what numbers do you need to make in a year? Or what is and why? So, for example, a lot of people, the normal thing is like, oh, I need to make 100K. I want to make $100,000 trading in a year, right? Or like 10K a month, which is really cool. And I like that. But why? Does your ideal life, or what makes you fulfilled, is that what it takes? Does it take that much? Or would you be super fulfilled and happy being in another part of the world where the cost of living can be way less? What is it for? What are you doing this for? Where are you sailing towards? So even if, and the key thing is no wind is favorable. So sometimes you have momentum, but if that's not actually taking you where you want to go, does it really matter? And we can apply this not just in kind of where we're going or what we want as traders, but then you can even incorporate this concept to your system. So if you have an entry and it's going in your direction, the market is going in your direction, if you don't know what your exit is, if you don't know what your exit strategy is, then, does it really matter? You could be up to risk reward, but is it even going to be favorable to you if you don't really even know where you're going to take profit? So that you might already be at your destination, but if you haven't completely decided, then it doesn't really matter. Same thing goes, you may be changing your entry strategy, you may be, completely changing how you perceive the market, or even what you believe in with technical analysis, but you might be changing something when that might not even be the issue. So it's you might be changing this and this and this and this, but is that really the problem if you don't even know where you're going? So you can apply this to a lot of different principles. And at the end of the day, I think the main thing here is having more certainty in where it is that you're going. Where do you want to end up? Because it's really easy to just kind of get stuck in the motions of making money, getting money. But at what cost and where are you really looking to go. So something to think about. And this is from Seneca, OG legend. Now, here's another one for you guys. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This one is so, it seems so basic and it's so simple, but this one to me years ago, really, I don't know, it really shifted the way I looked at how, like, the sequence of events. And I remember I used to make a lot of goals around what I wanted or what I want. And that really started to change through different perspectives. One of them being this principle of be, do, have. And this is a simplified concept. But basically, and this is a sequence of events. So it's who do you want to be? So it's kind of like what's your ideal identity, and then what do you need to do? So what work, right? What input, as Alex Ramosi would say, is required. Like what needs to be done. So, but first, the reason you have to decide, okay, who do I want to be, is because when we just make a list of what we want, then obviously we're missing out on a lot of things, right? Just knowing what you want doesn't really help you prioritize or organize what needs to be done. Now, let's say you have a list of what needs to be done. Oh, here's all the work I got to do. Cool. What does that work stand on? What character traits, what principles, what does it stand on? Because it's like, okay, well, why do I even want to do all these things? Just to get money, to get some sort of achievement? Okay, cool. And for me, I realized, and this is just what works better for me, but it's like, why do I want to do this work beyond just what I want to have? And it's like, this is who I am. And I think when the work you do is rooted from because this is who I am, it sticks a lot more effectively for me. And I think as traders, it's the same thing. Like, I am someone disciplined, therefore I take disciplined actions in my trading. I am someone consistent, therefore I show up. Right? The work I do, I show up to the market every day. I am disciplined, so I only enter the market when the following confirmations, when the following things, for lack of better words, are set. So for me, knowing what you would be, like knowing who you want to be, I don't know, it makes like all the actions easier. And also to look at it from a kind of a different lens, when you don't do that work, it kind of hits a little different, because it's like, wow, I'm not being the person that I know I and who I really ideally want to be. Because in my opinion, the doing for me is more useful. It's like it's more likely to happen when I also know the consequences. So not just like, okay, if I do this thing, then here's what I'm gonna get. But if I don't do this, here's who I'm gonna be like, and also this is what you lose out on. So your own time, whether it's your time, your money, family, seeing the world, your dreams, whatever you want it, whatever really costs for you. But like looking at it from that lens, to me, has been very powerful and very useful. I got one from Marcus Aurelius. Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Now, this one, I like this one. I think it simplifies and it helps. If anybody here, if like you guys ever struggle with like anxiety, which I don't have any experience with that, but So my understanding from people who have this, whether it's sadness, depression, or anxiousness, future, being in the future, is usually what leads to anxiousness. So this one I think really relates to that. But where am I going to be as a trader, and like, oh, I need to be at this level by this time. But I think this makes it really simple. Like, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Like, every single day, you are quote unquote defeating the present. So worst case scenario, you're going to approach the future and you're going to quote unquote defeat the future, just like you're doing today. So why really worry? Why let the future rob you from today? That's just theft. And you're just stealing from yourself, which is madness. But why allow that to happen if you're already taking on today every single day? And plus, if you're doing it, I think, with intention and then also reflection, you're not even going to have the same weapons of reason. It's only going to get better. You get more experience. You know a little bit more of what does work and doesn't work, as long as I think there's awareness and there's the intent of adaptation, evolution. So, I don't know, for me, this was kind of like, it's pretty simple. I guess, like, when we worry about the future because either we won't be ready for it, we won't be prepared, we won't have what we need at the time, and a lot of times that's, I think, like short-term, mid-term future. It's not even long-term future. Because I think when you really zoom out and you look at, like, okay, what, and you're freaking out about what's going to happen in 20 years, okay, cool. You can even have a plan in which you scale towards that, no problem. But yeah, this is one that I think is really useful, and I think it just kind of helps, like, let go a bit more, because it's straightforward. You'll have the same weapons for the future, well, at least mentally. You'll be all right. A person's worth is measured by the worth of what he values. Marcus Aurelius. And I bring this one up because it's easy to set our own, like, desires really just based off of what we think it should be, or what is known, what is common around us. There's this chase for, a certain amount of net worth. You want to have millions in the bank or something. You want to have certain assets. You want to have a certain house. You want to have a certain car, whatever. But why? Is it really that important to you? A person's worth is measured by the worth of what he values. So, as a trader, what do you value? And is your current game plan towards that, or is it just towards a certain amount of money per year, or per quarter, or per month? What if you don't need as much as you think you do? Like, if what you value more is being able to spend, the day with your kids, then maybe your goals are going to be a little different. And maybe if you are looking more, not just time, but you enjoy the work that you're doing right now, you enjoy another income stream that you have right now, but you want to be able to just take your family to experience the world for a month or two, or however long, every year. That could be different. Or you'd want to just change where you're located because it's just not where you want to be, and that might require a certain amount, or just a certain level of fulfillment to give, whatever it might be. But I think it's just understanding what is it that you value, and what is it that you're building towards that. But only you really determine your personal worth. There's financial, there's net worth monetarily, obviously. But I think we just have to be really intentional with what we're building towards. And obviously, I think having a certain amount and knowing what that is so that you're in the future set and there's money there, or whether it's you want to leave something for the generations beyond you, awesome. But just know who it's for, right? And that's really what I want to end with today, is getting intentional with what is it that I value and how do I measure myself. Because right now, you might be not where you want to be as a trader. And you might be extremely hard on yourself because you don't have this amount in your trading account, or this amount in net worth, or whatever it might be. But because the thing, what also do you value? It doesn't have to be just things and what you have, it's who you are. So if you realize, wow, like today, let's say for example, like for me, I value my own discipline, and not even that, but like how impeccable I am with my word. So if now I'm someone who is like that, impeccable with my word to myself, to my wife, to my family, to the people around me, if that is being accomplished, then I should feel way closer or way higher in my own worth because of that. As a trader, if what you're really right now you've put into value is just how consistently you're following your entire system and you're doing that really well, then that should be you should be at a high worth with yourself. And when you're doing that and okay, if I do this long enough, then money's going to come, then it's going to happen. So I think a lot of times we are a little bit more difficult, or we're very harsh with ourselves, but not because we're really completely failing. Sometimes we are, and we have to be really realistic with that. But a lot of times it's because we're just measuring ourselves through a lens that doesn't even make sense to who you are. There's a lot of amazing perspective that can be connected to the trading world, the investing world, to just all of it in general.